Evening, everyone who's out there listening to this live. Thought I'd go live with an interesting topic. I usually but do live stuff via Facebook on a Sunday. But I thought today was very permanent that I do go live. There's been a couple of subjects, particularly one that has been on my mind recently. And rather than write so many things, hi Carrie, hi Steph, hi Dee, hi Jamie, wow, people joining already. Hi Andrew, Derek, you okay? I'm not going to keep saying hello, but I wanted to talk about the situation regarding a fanatical group. I don't like to call them by the name of the group. Tomo, you alright, pal? I don't want to call them by the name of the group because I don't think they warrant that. Aaron, thanks a lot for saying that. But it's been on my mind for so long about this fanatical group and what they're trying to do. And it's important that we realise what they're trying to do. So, Derek, you okay? I'm all good. So, there's been a lot of attacks on the West, but also on Muslim countries as well. And they're trying to force us into a situation where the West hates Muslims. Now, we have to be very careful with this because this is their primary motive. For the purpose of the group, I'm going to call them I. Everybody knows what they are, but I'm not going to use their name to glorify them or to give them any more publicity than what they actually have. So I have got some real horrible beliefs about how religion should look like, what Muslims should behave like, and how they should live their life, and how they should treat anybody else who is a non-Muslim. Because of this and the values and beliefs they have on life, there are a lot of Muslims who are fleeing the country from persecution, fleeing Syria, fleeing that part of the world, and fleeing into a place where they would like to be safe, which is obviously Europe. Now, what is happening is because of what this I group are doing, and by the way, they're not just attacking non-Muslims. If anybody didn't see the news last night, they also attacked Afghanistan, which is a 99% populated Muslim country. But because Afghanistan doesn't want to take their dirty, stinking morals, they thought they might as well attack them as well. So Muslims are fleeing the country. Now, when these attacks happen on our shores in Europe, these aren't the Muslims that are living in Europe. These are the Muslim fanaticals that want the Muslim world to live a certain way. But what they are forcing England and other countries to do is to blame everybody else with the same stick, which is totally unfair. England go out to the Euros, and because certain people in the media say England's fans are being this and that, does that mean we're all at it? No, of course it doesn't. So we don't tar each other with the same brush. And it's the same way we shouldn't tar Muslims with the same brush. You know, I've been in this country for so long, and I've been living alongside and have best friends, and I feel like somebody used to say that about me at school. But I've got people who are really good friends who want to live an ordinary, peace-loving life. And they're Muslims. But that doesn't mean because there's a certain sector of society doing horrific things that all like that. No. And the thing what's been really grieving me is the hatred towards Muslims, which is really, really starting to, get obviously out of hands. And if we're not careful, we're going to fall straight into the eyes trap. Because if the home countries, because of the way that they want them to live, they're fleeing from their home country because they want them to live a certain way and act a certain lifestyle. And then they come to England, and then we're treating them a certain way. Even Muslims who are born in England are being treated away. Then where do you think eventually these Muslims, young Muslims particularly, will end up? In the clutches of the very Muslims that they're running away from. So the ideology of us hating them just because they are Muslim is wrong. Hi Cherie, hi Brenda, hi Joe. Now I don't have all the answers on this, of course I don't. But one thing I do know is that you can't fight hatred with hatred. It's fact. You cannot fight, there's no way we're in society. Hi Nicole, hi Ben. There's nowhere in society where hatred wins against hatred. It just don't happen. Now, do I believe that obviously the I should obviously be firmly dealt with? Of course I do. But that doesn't mean that peace-loving Muslims that are in this country are all of one accord. No, they're not. But we are playing straight into their hands by forcing young Muslims who feel, well, we don't belong to England or Europe. We're not really involved in this I group. But do you know what? If we go with this I group, at least we'll have some identity. At least we'll be with a certain part of society which will, if we bow down to their needs, it means that we will fit in. And everybody wants to fit in. Everybody wants to feel loved. So the way to beat this is obviously to love your Muslims that live on our shores, that are fun, peace-loving Muslims, Muslims that are fleeing the society of the I group, and to treat them in a way that you would treat a neighbour. You will soon start to flush out who's who when you start to show love in the right and proper way. But we can't keep blaming every Muslim. We can't keep saying it's because of this and that. This is why this country's... No. I'm afraid there's a certain particular group that are going around killing everybody. Black, white, non-Muslim, Muslim, whoever they choose to. Doesn't matter whether there's 90, but children, they will kill. That's not anybody's fault other than the ideologies of this idiot group called I. It's as simple as that. And if anybody wants to choose anybody to blame for that, look no further than them. It's nobody else's fault. It's not religion. And I have read some of the Quran, and it doesn't justify anybody killing anybody. Christianity doesn't justify anybody killing anybody. But if you read one sentence, it might state that. But then you've got to read the context of why it said that. So don't fall for this prey, well, it said so. It doesn't say so. But the fanatical groups will use it to justify their crusade or whatever you want to call it. So I implore people just to love, to treat people just as you would like to be treated, regardless of colour, creed, age, sexuality. And yet I said sexuality. Just love one another. That is the greatest way to win this war, because it is a propaganda war. And thereafter, the hearts of minds of people who are trapped in the middle of this war, who don't really belong to the I, but don't really be accepted by Europe. And if you continue to push them away, they'll fall into the clutches of people who will know what to do and how to seduce and how to manipulate these young Muslims. Hi Thomas, hi Tony. It's a difficult subject. It really is. It's a touchy one, because nobody really wants to say it. Nobody really wants to get underneath the skin of it. but it has to be said. Yeah, you're right. They were treated bad but still integrated. Muslims, good or bad, don't want to. They want to run their own areas with their own laws. I hate to say, except they're not all bad. No, they're not all bad. They're not all bad. Well, not all English fans, when they go abroad, are bad. But some get caught up in the propaganda of what the media want to put out there. So, does it mean we're all bad? No. Of course it doesn't. But there's one or two that will spoil it for the rest. And that is just the same with what's happening right now. Doesn't mean that all Muslims bad. Let's be honest, right? So I'm born from a second generation. My parents came from the Caribbean. Muslims were here when I was born. Never been problems. It's been quiet. It's been peace, fun, loving. They go to their mosque. I go to my church. I love my church. And then a couple of groups rise. One starting with A and one with I. All of a sudden, these groups have an ideology of what they want the Muslim world to live like. What they want the West to accept and adopt. Now, bearing in mind, these Muslims have been here for years and contributed a massive amount to society. And if you don't know, you need to know. In the wars, in tax, and also in our benefit systems and NHS, you need to know that. So these groups raise up and they start trying to force their agenda on the world, not just on the Muslim community, on the world. But they're going to attack their nearest and dearest first. Those that don't agree with their ideologies decide to leave because they're suffering from persecution, murder, rape. Who else wouldn't try to leave? They then see they are losing their own. So what they try to do strategically, they think, I know, if we can force others to think that those fleeing are troublemakers, if we can force others in Europe to believe that all Muslims are adopting what we want them to adopt, then they will have to do one or two things. One, either buy down and just flee the Europe or go to somewhere else. Or two, side with us and come and join with us because Europe don't want you. So then they go back and they create more foot soldiers, men and women, to fight a war that they truly want to fight. The way to break it is to show love and to be able to talk, engage with the Muslim community, and Muslim communities are trying to denounce the activities of the I group, but media won't put that out there because you know what? It's not sexy, is it really? So automatically now what is happening is that everybody in England thinks every Muslim's out to bomb them, can't do anything, and it's creating an absolute panic. Oh dear. Hi Laureen, hi Cass. Yeah, Thomas, I agree. I wish this was a world where everybody could live, as one. That's what we were made to do. We are separated because certain pillars choose to separate us. There's only one race, which is the human race. But to put certain people into a box, they decided to separate us by calling us and differentiating between us. It doesn't matter whether you're black, white, Asian, China. I don't give a... It's what you like as a person. And I have people of all walks of life who some I don't get on with, and there's people that I actually love. And I'd shout to everybody to choose love. If you get in a hot bath and it's too hot. You don't add more hot water to it. You might burn yourself. So what you decide to do is add cold water to make it more acceptable for you to sit in. If the room is dark, I can't add more darkness because you won't see. So I choose to add light, which enable you to see. More darkness would just make the situation worse. So when there's hatred being vilified, and hatred by certain people who live on the same street as me, or in the same communities as me, then you just add into it even more. The way to defeat these morons is to show love. Hatred falls exactly into the hands of what they are choosing to do. It says in the Bible that love is the greatest commandment of them all. And I choose to show love to my fellow human beings. That's what they are first and foremost. That's what I am. That's what you are. A human being. I'm just reading what Brenda said. Good and bad in each person, but true Muslims, they're going to worship hate. So those who do not kill are true Muslims. Brenda, there's no part in the Quran which is justifying anybody being killed. I've read certain manuscripts. I've read not just the sentence, what he said about kill. I've read before and the after, and it doesn't justify it. So, you know, I can't just put something out there on a Sunday. And by the way, usually on a Sunday, I've been asked to do things, and usually, which it is to write certain things on Facebook, whether it's about certain aspects of life. I don't know why I've been asked, but I get asked to. Today I was asked to do something and I couldn't write this. So I chose to go live with it because there's too much to it. It's too deep. It goes too far. And this is the biggest question I want to leave with people. We all have children. We all are here for a short period of time. You know, a year's literally gone by. Again, we're in August. Yeah. August. A year is nearly gone again. If you have 75 years of that 1 year, what goes really quick, you get to realise that life just whizzes by like that. So it's not much about what we do now. It's about what are we going to leave behind for the others, for your children, for your grandchildren, for your nieces, for your nephews. What are you going to leave behind? What kind of world do you want your children to see? What kind of baton are you going to pass on? Is it one of hate or is it one of love? It's a serious question. Hi Shelley, Valerie, Chunks has joined the party. Thomas, I get bullied for my Asperger's and it's not no matter who you are, blah blah. I totally agree with you. It's the art that matters. It's so true. It's the art that matters. I'm not really interested about what colour skin you are, or where you're from, or listen. I've got real dipstick friends who are black, who are white, who are Asian. But I've got dipstick friends that I actually love to bits. But it's the way life is. It doesn't make them because they are from a certain demographic. Well, I'm going to say, well, they're all that way. No, absolutely not. I don't agree with a lot of what's being put out in the media. And I would encourage you that once things are released, that you go and dig a little bit deeper for yourself. You know, look at stuff what's happening across the waters with Trump. Man, if he gets in, we got some serious problems. But I'm just going to leave you with this because I didn't want to get too far into it. But I was asked to talk about it or to send a message about it. And I thought the best thing would be to go live because it's a deep topic. And it's one that I've been battling with and one that I've spoken about and on. And I thought it would be best to go live and speak about it. So, for those that have just joined, just a roundup, including chunks. Question for you, Michael. Haha. You as a devout Christian and seeing the hate and destruction in our world, do you think we are close to God stepping in? Putting a step to it. Just wanted your view. Paul Luca Loca. Good question. Question for you, Michael. As those that know me, I'm a devout Christian. And seeing the hate and destruction in our world, do you think we are close to God stepping in? Putting a step to it. Just wanted your view. Well, every day we get nearer. It's as simple as that. Listen, I don't know the hour, I don't know the minute, but what I do know is that I am fully ready. But when you look at the world right now, you can't go through a day without seeing some atrocity. You've got to think. And somebody said to me the other day, do you know what, Michael? I don't believe in your God, and why is your God put up with this? And no, I'm not having God. And I said to him, I said, even if you don't believe God, if you accept his principles, it'll only make you a better man, a better person, because you live a certain way, you have a certain standard to your life. I'm not a religious nut. You probably can see me now. I'm not a fanatic, or I'm just somebody that wants the best for myself, for my family, for the people that I come into connection with. And I do believe the word of God. And I think it's powerful, it's life-changing. But I understand it's not there for all. I understand that and totally agree with that, and I don't think any different than you or of you. I've got a good friend, Tony, will back me up on that. We speak several times. There you are. And I totally understand and appreciate and respect her values and her stance. And I think that's the way we should all be. I think we should all be tolerant of one another. Respect each other's views or each other's stance. We're not always going to understand, but that's, your choice, and that's my choice. And I do believe, everybody's entitled to that choice. But when we start going into the arena of hatred, that's when it gets a little bit serious. That's when you start to think to yourself, something's got to be done. And that's why I wanted to come on here and speak about it rather than put it down in a little piece on Facebook. I don't think I could have done it value. I don't think it would have come out right. I think the best thing was for me to come on here and speak about it. And I hope Emma's been listening, because I know Emma's been very lively on this subject. Are you there? Yeah. Still there? Yeah, we're still there. Okay, Ben, people often read those. Yeah, totally agree, Ben. So Ben's put, people often read westernized versions of the Quran. And there's some great Muslims too, many of them persecuted and stereotyped me. I think we all learn to channel aggression or difference of option more positively and use love as a tool. Spot on, Ben. Totally in agreement with you, pal. There's a lot of Muslims who are being persecuted for what's going off now in Syria and other places, because they're feeling the brunt of it, because everybody's tarnishing them with the same brush, as I've said. And they've been here years, just like I have, as descendants of Caribbean parents, and have adopted the English way of life and love it. This is my home. I call it home. But if something was to crack off in, Jamaica or Africa, and they were going on a certain way, I wouldn't like to feel that I'm going to be vilified for something that I have no control over. If they want to behave and act in a certain way, and it's a certain little, part of society which are doing this, then I think that that society should be called out for who they are. If my son's in the classroom and he's misbehaving, the teacher better call him out and sort him out. What I ain't expecting is the whole classroom to be vilified because of one little boy. It just ain't right. And then to back that up, it's the hatred which comes with it, because they're being vilified, they're being persecuted, they've been told to go home, and it's not right. You look at it now, and the Polish community is feeling the same. The world's a big place now. The world allows us to move between borders. There's some fantastic work that has been going across borders, countries to countries, and in the word of hate, we're going to lose all those I just don't understand it. My stepdaughter's on, Jess. Jess, how are you? As always, you get to listen to. I can forgive you for playing for blues. Just had a Villa fan on here saying that he can forgive me for playing for blues. Emma all the way in Spain, I know that you're on here. Look, I just wanted to get it off my chest, and I hope that you've got part of the message that I'm trying to say. That the way to defeat this, and it is honestly what they're after, is a war, and they're after a war. I'm going to say it again. They're after an Islamic war where their points of views are going to drive this war. And the more and more we drive hatred, the more and more we isolate our brothers and sisters in England and Europe. And yes, they are brothers and sisters. They live in amongst us. They go to the same schools as us. This is our communities. If you vilify certain parts of the community society, they're going to be left on the wing. And eventually, they'll go into a place where they feel a lot more comfortable and a lot more welcomed. And you'll drive numbers to the eye. And I want to be able to one day wage war. This is what this is all about. So I encourage you not to come to their way of thinking. I encourage you to show love, and that's all I've got to say on the matter. It's been a pleasure speaking with you all. I think I might do this next Sunday actually, rather than post stuff, because I think it's a lot more receptive and it's a lot more well received by the looks of it. So thanks for tuning in. So if I bored anyone, didn't mean to bore anyone, but I think it was something that needed to be said. Show love, that's the way forward.